Well, here we are. Welcome to Wholehearted Living with Valerie
and Bennie.
Woohoo!
We are siblings who come to you to try and give you some laughter, some fun, some joy, some contentment, some peace, some serenity.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what I'm saying. They're just a bunch of words that are popping
they
in.
have fun, they have seasons in the sun.
That's true.
Like
so
that.
I was just going to tell you a wonderful story. And I forgot it. What were we talking about?
About a movie.
Movies about true stories?
Yeah, it was a true story movie. Dang, it was really good. But then she ruined me with her song. The joy of the sun and whatever.
I don't remember the words to that, but that's a fun song.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Golly, what were we talking about? It was a really good thing about
true story movies.
True story movies. It was a sports movie. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. You said all true. Iggy, by the way, thanks, Iggy, for keeping us down.
Yes.
So Iggy mentioned that all true stories are always like good.
Because they're based on something.
Because they're based on something good.
Yeah.
There was a George Clooney movie that was based, quote unquote, on a true story. And it was about a huge storm. It might have been called The Storm.
The Perfect Storm.
The Perfect Storm.
That was a true story?
That's what they said. It was a true story. And they're talking about how did you ever see this?
No.
Oh, so he goes out, and I actually don't remember the whole thing because I was really pissed by the end of it. Because the story, the true part of the story is that there's this huge storm and this boat is out there. Mm-hmm. They sink.
Oh.
So the only thing that was true was there was a big storm.
Oh,
we
and
have no idea what happened out there because there was nothing. They died. So nobody came back and said, oh man, you should have seen what happened.
That's
So
annoying.
literally it was like 15 minutes where they're talking about the storm and how they have to go save these guys, and they didn't go save them and they died. So we have no idea. They were
That's
too busy to say, hey, let me tell you what's going on.
That's different than the Titanic.
Yeah, no, but my point is that it's like there was two guys on the boat, or what?
There was a lot of them.
Oh, I don't know, but there was a handful of them, but they all died. So there's nobody
they
that
were fishermen.
Nobody that can tell
There's
what
nobody
happened.
who could say what happened, and even if they journaled about it, it's on the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, that's
so
so
it's
weird.
like, yeah, and it was such a big storm. They're not reporting in. By the way, this is what happened.
Yeah.
So all they
How
could
do
say,
they know it was a true story? Like, how do they know what did they
Oh.
actually show them on the ship?
Yes. They
Oh.
show them on the fishing boat doing this and that and all these things and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm thinking it's a true story. So when it's all done, I'm thinking
They
a couple
survive
people
somehow.
live or
Yeah.
some people
Yeah.
live or something happens. And then all of a sudden they're all dead. And so I literally was like,
That's so funny.
That means that from about 15 minutes into the movie, all of this is BS. We have no
That's
idea.
so
We have no
funny.
idea what happened on the boat. Now they did reference things that they were trying to do on land, so I guess
Yeah.
that part could be real. But the quote unquote action part of it
Right.
is them on.
Well, maybe
that.
it just said based on facts of a true story.
Well, they
I
all
I wonder
say
if it's
that.
one of those there's based on a true story and there's inspired by true events.
Inspired, yes, that's what I was thinking. It.
Oh. Well, I don't know what it said, but I was
I
frustrated
just know
because
that when
I
I-
like true stories, and I was like
Yes.
thinking the whole time, this is so cool. And then they died, and I think I looked at Patty and said, so we have no idea if this was true. This is
So
all
funny.
totally just imagined.
But it's so funny because I watch Lifetime, and Peter will walk in and he'll go, "What are you watching?" And I go, "Oh, it's whatever." And half the time I have, not even half the time, 99.9% of the time, I never know what the title of the movie is. But so he just sits down and he's just like, doesn't like Lifetime. But I'm like, but it's based on a true story, so it's really good. I know the acting's terrible, but
I haven't watched anything. We don't have Lifetime. I don't think we've watched anything on Lifetime forever. Patty's dad, well, actually, a lot of them like the Christmas movies that come
Hallmark
out.
Channel.
Call the Cops, man. He will watch them. He will watch new, just not the same one over, but they basically are
They're
the
all the
same one.
same.
They're exactly the same movie, and it's just over and over. And he wants to watch another one and another one and another one. And I'm seriously in hell. I don't watch them. I go
Well,
read a book.
you know what's
or do
weird is
something.
I don't even like them because people will say things to me about the Lifetime, and then they'll go, "Oh, you must like the Hallmark Channel." I'm like, you know what? Not so much. And it's not. It's mostly that I don't like it at Christmas time because it's always the same storyline.
Yes. Yeah. And if it's not the same storyline, so I'm going to tell you a story about me being in India.
But can I tell you, keep that in mind. But I brought up Titanic, but do you know the story about you being in India? Don't forget.
Do I know the story of Titanic? It sank.
Okay. So back many, many years ago.
Oh, you're talking about Peter.
You know this?
I know the story, but you can tell it. Our listeners don't.
So we went to the movies with Jay and Kelly, and Peter and I went to the movies with Jay and Kelly. And Peter and Jay walked in first, handed the girl the ticket to get in. Teenager. And Peter jokingly hands the ticket and says, "So, does the boat sink?" And she goes, "I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet."
That is so
And we were
funny.
all so dumbfounded. We were just like...
It's almost like it's so startling that you're thinking, wow, she's funny. Like she's actually giving a better joke than Peter gave. Yes. And then you realize... No, she's being honest.
Yes.
No.
It was so funny.
I haven't seen it yet. That's just that is kind of funny. Yeah. No, I was going to tell you that I went to the Taj Mahal. I was in India for a month or so, and I spent time in New Delhi. And then there was I don't remember what city the Taj Mahal is in. You know what I'm talking about, the Taj Mahal, right? And, but it was like a 9-hour bus ride or longer or something like that to the Taj Mahal from New Delhi. I think it was New Delhi that I was at the time. Anyway, we get in there, and this was new to me, but it had a TV in there. It had like a TV, and then you watched movies. And so horrible ride. Like I'm sure India's improved because they certainly have improved. But in those days, I mean, it was just bouncy and everything, I guess. And me and my friend, Wayne, we were sitting there. We would watch this movie. And it's all in Hindi, right? That's what Indians speak. And so I think they speak a gazillion languages, but whatever the main one is. And they would show the movie. And what it was nowadays, everybody knows it as Bollywood, right? You've heard about Bollywood, right?
Yeah.
But in these days, I didn't know anything about it. There's no cable. Nobody saw these movies. So it was the only thing that was on, and you didn't have a choice. We didn't have headphones in those. I mean, if you did, it was like your batteries would die. I mean, it's like you didn't have what you have nowadays. So we would watch this thing, and it was too bouncy to read. Yeah. And so you're just watching this thing. And what happened was every single episode, I kid you not, they would dance. They would always come out and they would be dancing, and there'd be all these colors, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, and then the main characters, the guy and the girl, they're dancing together. And then all of a sudden, some people would rush in and steal the girl. And then they would steal the girl, and then the guy would lament dancing, and then they would do all these things. We don't understand anything that's going on. So, and then something would happen for an hour and 10 minutes or hour and 5 minutes or something like that. And then all of a sudden they would obviously conquer them, and then the girl would come back and they would dance again. And so they were dancing all the time, and they were singing all the time, and they were doing this. And then the movie would end, and you would kind of go, because it was loud and all this stuff. And then they would have a new movie. And it was even sometimes looked like it's exactly the same thing. We
maybe
actually,
they were just playing it in rerun.
No, it was different. It was like, but this is what's funny. It reminded me of Columbo. You know how Columbo uses the same actors? It's the same actors doing different things. You could recognize the different actors, but they were just being, okay, now that girl was used to be over there, but now she's this one. And they were just doing the same thing. And we never knew any other way. But it was so funny because when we finished that trip, which is 18 hours, because we did 9, we went to the top. We didn't even stay the night. We stayed there for however long, and then we came back. Whole time watching these movies. So it was funny because we got back and we reenacted it because we were able to go, okay, blah, 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 and then do the dancing and then singing, and then somebody, it was so funny. But that was literally one of the longest trips ever. Not only uncomfortable, but then having to watch that over and over. It was literally like a Hallmark Channel. The only difference was, because the Christmas movies is always, are the guy and girl going to get together? Right. That's always what's going to happen. Yeah. And then Santa Claus somehow, I don't know, makes it happen. But
or the guy is Santa Claus. And
exactly. Yeah. So it's but it's always the same premise. And it was the same thing. But it was funny because they always they were all musicals.
All
They would
right.
always be dancing and singing, and then in the middle of this tragedy, and then all of a sudden everybody would just start in unison dancing.
How
and we're
funny.
watching it on like an 8-inch screen.
Yeah.
TV. It was.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, that was my life 40 years ago, 30 years ago, long time ago. Golly, I'm old. Patty and I have been married 34 years. 34? 34.
I know. I saw the mug.
That's right. We already talked about the mug. Yeah. So I don't have to get her anything this year. Anywho, so there you go. You have
I
another story?
know. Well, I think by the time we watch this, I mean, by the time this airs, I will be 60 years old.
That's right. Because we're going to go party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would have already partied by the time people listen to this.
That's right. We might not even be able to do this because we're going to have partied so hard.
No.
no.
Yeah, is that crazy to think?
It is a little weird. I just ate lunch with Dad today, and I almost said this to him, but I forgot. But I wanted to say, so what's it like to have senior citizens as kids?
Right? Right?
It's like we get the
crazy.
seniors discount nowadays.
No.
And so
Actually, I didn't get it. I took Mazzy to the movies. It was, I think Kylie, Mazzy, and I went to the movies. And I was so excited because I'm like, oh, I'm going to get the senior discount. And it was 61 or something before you could get it. I was like, or 60 maybe. And I was still 59, obviously, when I bought the tickets. But I was like,
that's sad.
yeah.
Yeah. What do they do when you turn 60? Do you have to sit in certain seats?
They bring out, when you get to the front, they bring out the wheelchair.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're near the bathroom.
Yeah. Closest to the bathroom or up front so you could see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
But at IHOP, Patty and I had both just turned 50. How old are we? 5. And so now we get to 55 there's a senior menu.
Oh.
It's like you save $2 or $3, right? But bring your own damn coffee. God, that costs as much as the meal for the senior thing.
For
it's
just
so
their
ridiculous.
drip coffee there?
Yes.
Ew.
It was ridiculous. We couldn't believe it because we both ordered a coffee, and then it was like, I couldn't believe it because I was like, well,
What happened to dollar coffee or 20? Like it used
it's
to be
literally
so,
just drip coffee. And there's
it's not
nothing
even
particularly
good.
special about
Yeah.
it. Right. It's just regular.
Yeah, either I'll bring my own in my little
That's what I do.
brewmate, or maybe
Brewmate.
we'll just grab a.
No, I do brewmate.
Coffee.
So yeah,
This is why me and Trinity rarely go out for coffee. We just make it
Yeah.
at home.
yeah, of course. I seriously.
I actually prefer my coffee at home, to be honest. Or I like coffee bean. I'm not a big Starbucks fan anymore. It's just a little too bitter for me.
Yeah, well, that probably depends on the Starbucks, which you would never know, right? But I mean, if they do a good job of keeping it clean and doing X, Y, and Z, it should always be good coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't usually, or not everybody does the maintenance as they're supposed to. Although now they have new machines, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
I'm not a fan of the new ones. I'm talking about for the drip coffee.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
like
because
them.
in the old days, you had to make drip coffee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they have automated drip coffee where all they do is put the beans in there and then it automatically, it's like a Keurig,
Ah.
right?
Yeah,
Basically.
it's practically a
Oh,
big Keurig.
interesting.
A big, huge, expensive Keurig.
Interesting.
So that way that way you can also get any of the 3, like light,
Blonde,
medium,
right,
or blonde.
yeah.
Yeah, blonde. I forgot
Even
what they're called.
decaf.
Even
Blonde,
decaf.
medium, dark, decaf, and if there's a seasonal one.
Oh.
So it's all there always. So you just have to push a button and bam. So that's really kind of cool though, if you care.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the old days you could always ask for it, but you could be waiting an hour and a half. It was like when we were growing up and you asked for, a Big Mac without pickles. It was like 2 days later you get it.
It's going to be a while. Okay, well, I don't want
I know.
pickles. So.
Our kids don't recognize the days when Burger King, they literally had the saying, have it your
Yes,
way,
yeah.
have it your way.
Yeah.
And it was like the whole idea was you get to literally
Order it the way you
order
want
it the way you wanted it. You could do that at McDonald's, and Patty used to kill me because she would always order it without mustard. And I said, just wipe it off. We're going to have to wait 20 minutes. And it was like literally she'd go, I would like a such and such without mustard. And I would just put my head down and go, okay, I'll go wait in the car till our kids are grown
No,
up
I
and
know
married.
Mazzy or Marley, one of them likes the cheeseburger without the onions. That's hard to wipe off. Like, because those are little chop.
Yeah.
onions. And so it's funny because I one time forgot to say no onions, and then I took it off, and she could just tell. She could just tell that the flavor was there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing. I think you can get rid of the onions, but you can't get rid of the flavor. The flavor is still there. But nowadays they only make a couple. So like if you ask for it, it doesn't take nearly
We
as long.
didn't wait
Because
that
in
long.
our day, it was like
seemed like it took a
was
big-
forever
yeah.
because they had 7 Big Macs already made. They
Right.
were just sitting there picking their nose. And so when you asked for a new one, they were like,
Yeah.
You're throwing a wrench in the system.
Yeah. I used to wait for a fillet of fish because I would get a fillet of fish with extra tartar sauce. And so they had to remake it fresh. So my fish was always hot.
Ah, Patty would always,
yeah.
that was the other thing Patty
Yeah.
would say is, I only want fresh French fries. And so she would literally look and say, how long have those been sitting there? And they were like, oh, no, they're fresh. And she goes, no. Did you just put it in?
Yeah.
and so then, yeah. Yeah. I want fresh French fries. And
I used to go to Taco Bell and order a Nacho Bel Grande, and I would see the picture
well,
up
wait
there.
a minute. Can I just tell you something, Gigi? You know why she wanted a Nacho Bel Grande? Because that's what our forefathers did in the homes. Like our grandma, every Christmas, Nacho Bel Grandes. That's what they always had.
What?
I'm just kidding. I just say Taco Bell is so not a Mexican food.
I know, that's
whenever
why-
you say a Nacho Bel Grande.
No, that's what.
The moment
people,
the moment he used the word forefathers, I was like, oh, this is a story.
I haven't used that word ever in my life.
But no,
yeah.
but the funny thing is when people say, "Oh, you're Mexican," I go, "Well, like a Taco Bell Mexican," because it was like, I mean, like really, when was the last person that came from Mexico? But anyway, I would order the Nacho Bel Grande, and then I would open it up, and it would just make me so upset because it looked nothing like the picture.
Oh, does any food look like the picture?
I would put it right back in their face. I go, "Nope," and they would just look at me. I go, "I want it to look like that."
I've had
Yeah.
I've had customers like that when I was at Starbucks, and I remember they were like, "It doesn't look like the picture," and the picture is like in the nice for here cup.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'm like,
right.
Dude, it's COVID. You're not
You're not
going to
get it for your
Yeah,
cup. Yeah,
exactly.
does
Like,
anybody
it
give
doesn't
it
look
for
like
your
the
cup
picture.
anymore?
Like, it's not
'Cause
going to
it's
look
in
like
a-
the
it's in
picture.
a-
It's
yeah.
going to be in this
Yeah,
cup.
just like the woman on Instagram that you're marrying from Russia doesn't look like herself either. Okay, she's had some work done too. No, it's interesting because I always laughed. So I have to tell you this story. This is the funniest thing in the world. So I had this friend. I might have told you this personally, but it's never been on the podcast. I have this friend who is like a foodie. When I say foodie, though, like he and his wife go to really nice restaurants. They're the kind of people that find out about a chef and they like go to that chef, that kind of a thing. So, and has enough money to do it. Like they would travel
get it,
even
yeah.
to go get food and stuff like this. So he's very picky, but he's not a complainer. So I don't want to give you the impression that he's a complainer. He just realizes, but if he can get what he wants, he can get what he wants. Well, where did I go with Kurt, Patty? Steak and Shake or something like that? You've heard this story, right? It was Steak and Shake, right? And we're sitting there, and I'm sitting next to him, and he literally goes, "So your cheeseburgers, what kind of cheese is it?" And then they tell him, "Is it sliced or pre-sliced? Has it ever been frozen? Or is it, say, in the refrigerator?" I go, "Kurt, it's Steak and Shake." And then he goes like this. And then he goes, "The hamburgers are they a single patty or were they like scrunched together so that you can, how you can tell that they're not the like a single, like one patty sometimes, but then you could tell that they've been like, molded together or whatever it is." And he's like, "Well," and he's asking these, "What kind of bread is it? Is it this kind of bread or is it this kind of bread?" And then he goes, and then he says, and then finally they worked out the hamburger. They finally got it done. And then the guy goes, "Do you want fries or onion rings?" He goes, "Are they one solid ring or are they pieced together?" And then the guy says, I don't know what it was. Let's say he says they're a solid ring. And so he goes, okay. He goes, "Okay, I'll take the onion ring." So then they're and I'm laughing at Kurt. I cannot believe it's Steak and Shake.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what Steak and Shake is.
It's McDonald's.
It's like,
it's like a McDonald's in the East, like in the Midwest or whatever. And so then it's so funny because they come walking out, and I am not joking. 2 seconds in, he goes, "I forgot to ask him what kind of batter." It's like He saw the batter and he immediately knew he wasn't going to go for the
said that because I go,
rings.
wow, he didn't even ask what they were going to fry it in.
Totally forgot. And so it's so funny. But see, this is why he's not a complainer, because when the food came out, he didn't
wasn't
complain.
worried about it.
He didn't say anything to the person, and then he gave me the front onion rings because he wasn't going to eat them because they was the wrong kind of. Yeah, he ate the hamburger, but he didn't eat the onion rings because he was like he wouldn't do it.
That's too funny.
Yeah, no. So he goes, yeah, I'm really, really picky, but he goes, I'm not gonna, it's not their fault that I'm really picky. And had he asked about that and it was wrong, then he might have said something. But yeah.
Oh, how
So
funny.
it was really, really funny. But can you imagine? I don't know. I thought that
going
was
up to Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah.
What kind of bread do you put your
what kind
hot
of
dog
bread?
on?
What kind of dogs are they? Are they 100% beef? Where did the beef come from?
Right. Are they grass-fed cows or are they?
Yes, exactly. Or were they in Hawaii type cattle, or are these Texas cattle? I really need to know. So anyway, okay.
I want to know
I wanted to ask
what
you.
you're thinking.
Okay, well, this is what I'm thinking. I don't even know where to begin, because I was going to start with something, and I guess the question that have you ever had the experience last when you asked me a question? So I'll ask you this: have you ever?
You act like you never ask me a question.
I know, that's true. I always ask you a question. Okay, this is all about fear. Okay, so this is just maybe a little bit about fear, and we talk a lot about changing the script. So I'm hoping that it's not going to just be the same talk that we've talked about in the past. But I'm wondering, has fear prevented you from trying to do something that you really desire to do? Like whether it be something with work, in a relationship. I mean, you're married, so I don't necessarily mean, getting, I'm going to go look for a different guy.
I mean, I think fear,
Yeah.
prevented me from doing something.
Yeah. And so when the fear rises up in you, could you describe where you feel it? Kind of?
Like in my body?
Yeah, maybe in your body, and then we can interpret that.
I mean, I guess I have to figure out what was. I mean, I guess
choose try and pick a single subject that you're thinking of. So it could be regarding your finances. It could be regarding a career thing. It could be regarding like I said, a relationship. It could.
Well, I know that back in the day when you said finances, it made me think of the time that we were losing our house, and I was kind of living in fear of what was next. Like, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And how it impacted me physically was I always felt like I had a pit in my stomach, and I didn't sleep. That was during the time I had insomnia.
Yeah.
So
then the question is, and so this is where you, and you're listening to this podcast, is what fear do you have? And I'm going to say that when it comes to therapy and when it comes to both life coaching and therapy, I would say a significant amount of my clients, what they're dealing with is some kind of fear. Mm-hmm. So it's either a fear of loss, like their fear of losing something. They're ironically, so many people are afraid of, like, they stay in a particular job because they're afraid of the next, to make that next step, which often is revolving around fear of failure, right? So it's like if I leave
where I'm comfortable and have a rhythm,
even though I hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, at times I should say, at times it's like, I don't even like this thing, and I really want to go for this next thing, but and so I'm not referring to an impulsive move where, you for a few minutes thought, oh, I wanted to do this, but something that nags on you, like, I really just don't. You know what it is? I don't want to talk about what we don't want to do, but it's like, I really have a desire to do this other thing, but I'm
afraid of something.
Yeah, I'm afraid of something, right? And so you talked about a pit in your stomach. Sometimes I think a lot of times, at least for me, it's fear of failure. It's also fear of, I think sometimes at least for me, I feel like fear of being known for something that I don't necessarily want to be known for. Like if I've told you guys in the last podcast that I'm trying to figure out about my future because I'm finishing school, and it's like, okay, I mean, for sure I'm gonna have to work at a clinic and do certain things for a while because of just making up my hours. I just need that. But there's also this idea of, okay, if I go into my own business, then I'm gonna have to niche, because that's the only real way you're gonna make your money, right? Well, where do I niche? What do I want to be known for? And then all of a sudden you become known for that. Do I want to be that? Is that all I want?
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
100%. Because that was, I know I always throw in the Coco's Paleo Kitchen thing, but there was a niche with it saying Coco's Paleo Kitchen. And when I started incorporating other things that weren't quote unquote paleo, people would message me all the time. Like I would just have comments after comments on a post of a meal that I posted with, XYZ isn't paleo. Why did you, whatever. I can't even think of what I put on there, and it's Coco's Paleo Kitchen. I follow you for paleo food. And it was like, oh my gosh, it was a lot for a lot. And I didn't really even veer that much, but whenever I did, or if I talked about exercise, or if I talked about something else, I follow you for food, So there was that niche that kind of boxed you in.
Yeah. It's interesting because I also hear this about actors and actresses that, they become something, and then all of a sudden it's like nobody wants them for anything but that.
I think of like Winnie from
Winnie the Pooh.
No.
Yeah, he's always. It doesn't matter what he does. He's constantly a bear. He's always a bear. It's like he's really trying to get into a dog show or become a horse.
The girl, her name is Winnie. And she worked with Fred. I think his real name is Fred. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, this is a good podcast.
Anyway, she was oh gosh. What was that show called? It was like a sitcom-ish show back. Anyway, her name was Winnie, and she was a girl. Like maybe.
This is getting better and better. And wait, she was on a show.
No, meaning she wasn't a woman. She was a girl.
Oh, got it.
Now she's a woman, and I recently saw her in a Lifetime movie. We were talking about Lifetime in the last episode. But I saw her in a Lifetime movie, and I could not shake the fact that it was Winnie.
Oh, right.
Like I was like, what?
Well, you think about like Steve Carell in The Office. I think, he could have easily he got into that right when he was doing the 40-Year-Old Virgin. So he really was he became a movie person. He was unknown when he was hired, became known because of that. Then he becomes the Office guy, but he kind of had to leave to break that niche, right? And then all the Friends characters, for instance, I think Jennifer Aniston has really done a good job, and Lisa Kudrow has done some things, but some of them it's like, well, and obviously Humijig died, but the point is that you get kind of niched into this is who you are, and then it's really hard for anybody to see you do anything else. Jenna Fisher and has talked about the fact that, she's grateful. Everybody's grateful for what The Office did for them, but it's kind of hard to see Dwight as anything but Dwight. It's like, how do you not see him?
I did buy Jim in The Quiet Place or whatever.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's see, this is a great thing though, but that he wrote that. He wrote it, produced it, directed it. Yeah. Acted in it, and
that's
so
interesting
he broke himself out of that.
Yeah, and that's interesting you said that, because you think of Ron Howard when he was like Opie, and then he grew up and just kept acting. Happy Days, and then but he did go into the writing, directing, and all that stuff. So you can see him. But
but it's interesting. The point that I'm making.
I know. Is this about?
It's about acting. Yeah. So because Valerie and I have so much experience in acting. No, but the point that I wanted to make is that I just find myself at times feeling trapped by fear. And what's interesting is we've talked so much on our podcast about, flipping the script and blah, 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 blah. But I just know that there's part of me that's there are certain things that I'm still fearful of. Like, and I don't live by them. Therefore, they don't make it so that I don't sleep. It's stuff like that. I'm fine. But this one's coming up right now because, it was a big, I wanted to get this degree for years. So it took a long time to finally say, well, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so obviously Patty supported me and would have probably, if I would have done it 5 or 10 years ago, she would have been fine with me doing it. But there was fear. Am I going to be able to succeed? Can I actually do this thing? Do I really care? And all these different things. And then we did it. And so that gave me an identity for 3 years because I didn't have a choice. It's like you really can't, if you're full-time in school and full-time in work, it's you can't do it. You can't do any more than that. And I was grateful for the life I had in the meantime, though, because we still traveled, we still did stuff, we still had fun and enjoyed our kids and so on. But then now I'm in this, it's like, okay, school's going to end. And so now what's your new identity? And I'm like going, and I don't know if I like what I just said. I just said new identity, but it's kind of like, I have to figure out what's the next step. And regardless of what I do, it's risk.
Yeah. I'm
not guaranteed to succeed. And then there's even comes into this thing, am I supposed to do it? Should I, we mentioned in the last podcast, do I really want to put the energy into it? Because when we moved to Ecuador, I put everything into that and it required, I'm enjoying the fact that I don't work ridiculous amount of hours and I don't, and my life
you have to, for you, I'm just going to throw this out there. It's not like you just graduated college out of high school.
No, exactly.
So you have, and I'm not saying your days are numbered, but I'm just saying you're at the point in your life where do you want to have all your energy in that where you're not going to enjoy the second half of your life?
Yeah, for sure. And then on the other hand, there's a part of me that says, and I don't disagree with you, but then there's this other hand that says, well, this second part of my life, I still have a mission statement that drives me, which is about, people becoming all that they're meant to be in God's eyes. And, like, how do I help people get to that point? And what's the best method of doing that? And reaching those people and, so on and so forth. So there's so many, I don't want to get into the weeds.
Yeah.
I'm too late. But what I'm getting at is that, the whole point of this is, what do you do when that fear comes up in you? Do you risk it, or do you just bury it, or what do you do? And so I'm curious, how do you process and have you ever not done something for, I'm using the word fear, maybe it's a different reason, but have you?
Yeah. When you say fear, I understand what you're saying, but I also feel like I live a life where I'm not fearful of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me to
relate to that word.
Yeah, it is. But I think in a situation, just because I don't feel like I'm in a situation that even relates to what you're saying right now.
Right.
But I think that you need to do things like you compartmentalize and then you make a list and the pros and cons of doing this, that, or the other. And in terms of your thing, like you want to reach somebody, like my philosophy always was, if I reach one person, then I made a difference. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily think, like, even when I again, bringing up that Instagram, when people would, when I go, oh gosh, this is kind of a lot that, it is time consuming. We talked last week about how I would just sit there all weekend long trying to create new recipes and stuff like that. And then somebody would and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to spend this much energy. And then I would get this random comment of like, oh my God, you have no idea how much you've helped me and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, if I just reach one person, I'm fine with that. Do I need to reach thousands? It would be great. But if one person is getting something from something I'm offering, then I'm good.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you. It's just at the same time, like in my case, this is my livelihood. So it's like, if I don't reach 1,000 people, then we don't make money. So there's like a double-edged sword, right? Because it's like but then how do I want to do that?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
how do you really do it? Should I go get a job where they get an MFT? But then does that, like Iggy mentioned last time, it's like you have to, so maybe I'm making good money, but I might hate myself in the job and I'm not accomplishing my mission, especially when you consider that we are, we're not starting. I graduated with half of the kids, I call them kids because they're 24,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
yeah.
they're going right in to get, like, I wouldn't mind getting my PhD, but literally when I do the investigation on it, it literally is when I've done a bunch of research on it, so to speak. And basically they say, at your age, it's not worth it. You're never going to recoup the money that you spend on it.
That you would spend to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes sense if you're independently wealthy and you want to just get that.
Or you're 22.
Or you're 22.
Yeah.
Because then it's like you make significantly more and it would make sense. But at your age, it's going to take you 5 or 10 more years to get that, depending on how earnestly you go for it. And then all of a sudden by the time your work life is so short after that it's like, so if you have the money, I'm not discouraging people from doing that. If you have the money, go for it. Go for your goals. But in my case, I don't have the money. It would just be a loan. And it's like, I would be passing it on to my kids, basically. Right. They would be doing that. So that's you, Iggy.
He's like, don't go get your PhD.
Iggy's like, forget the PhD. So there was a couple things, though, and this is the reason why I brought up the fear thing, is because when I was thinking about our podcast and what we're going to do, some of the fears that I get, and this is not exactly true of me, but some of it is true. But so some of the mindset that comes up into me at times will be, well, I'm not worthy of getting that kind of a career. That, I don't deserve that. Like, I don't deserve it. And then I think, well, wait a minute, but the opposite is, I do deserve it. Why can't I just say I do deserve that?
Right.
Or, and so more empowering questions would be, why do I deserve to be successful? Why do I deserve to own successful business? How would running a wildly successful business improve my life, my children's lives, our lives? What good will I be doing in the world? And so these are more empowering questions for those of us out there who are thinking, there's things that are stopping me from doing it. And we tend to focus on those negative questions, and the negative questions don't lead to like empowering yourself to get the job done, because it actually gets you into that place of feeling stuck and feeling like I can't move forward. So there was another question, but does that make sense? Are you tracking with me?
No, I'm falling asleep. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, I hate you. So here's some other ones.
I'm kidding. No, it does make sense.
Most of the time, we're a lot of people are focusing on what they don't want, and they're not focusing on what they want. So what if my business fails? What if I run out of money? Why am I not as smart as those around me? Because we compare ourselves to other people. How am I not as qualified? Because we see people that might do what you're hoping to do, and then you're thinking, how come I can't do it? How come I'm not ready yet? Or am I ready? Asking ourselves these kind of questions. But if we change those questions and ask different questions, it all of a sudden can make significant differences, like the empowering questions that I said earlier, which have to do with, I deserve this. I can do this. I just saw...
Well, what if you did fail?
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's like, if you do fail, that's still not the worst thing that can happen. No. You could still end up on, especially if you're doing it and if you're like a God person, it's like, well, if you were doing it in good faith, I still, the same person, I always say this, you totally disagree with what I'm about to say, but I always say, because people, get nervous about me riding a motorcycle, and they're like, oh gosh, it's just so dangerous. And I go, well, the same guy that keeps you safe in a car keeps me safe on a motorcycle, or doesn't. What I'm saying is like, it's yes, there's wisdom and things like this and whatever, but the same guy that's keeping a roof over my head will keep it up over my head if I pursue something that it doesn't go as planned.
Well, I always hear that. I like the thing when people say, you're not trying. If you're failing, or
if you're not failing, you're not trying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not everything's going to be a fail, but when you do fail at something, it is because you're trying.
Yeah.
It's not, we always use the reference of lifting weights. You're going to try it. You're going to try it. If you fail it, well, you know what? You tried it.
Yeah. And not only that try usually gives you more muscles than when you do it.
Right.
Like the failing really is
Pushes
when you
you.
exert your muscles
Yes.
more than
Yeah.
anything else. Assuming,
But and so that I'm just like you're posing the questions like, don't ask these negative questions, but you can ask yourself, well, what if I failed? Like, okay, but what if you do? Like,
Yeah.
then you pick up and you move on. Plan B. You know.
No, it's true. And so I agree. I agree. And my thing for where I'm at and what made me bring this up here is that I guess there's two parts of it. One is, if you're out there and you're dealing with fear and you're dealing with this, like, fear often leads to anxiety. There's two ways to look at it. And this goes back to what we often say, but it's what Valerie's talking about right now is, well, you could either focus in on the negative, or you could say, okay, wait a minute. All those positive questions, I can do this. If somebody else could do it, so can I. Why can't I do it?
Right.
And I always use this phrase, comparison is the thief of joy, because when I compare myself to other people, I absolutely start to feel,
Inferior.
negative. Yeah. Because, and it's not even necessarily that I don't have as good of a life as those people, but it's like whenever you long for something that somebody else has, instead of embracing what you do,
Right.
It can be really
Right.
painful.
Right.
It could really affect you. But anyway.
Yeah. I think about Kylie when she goes on auditions and, she's just like, and she feels like a failure. And I'm like, Kai, you know what? Your job right now is auditioning. And if you're not, there is like, think of all of these people that go out and audition for things. They're not getting everything they're booking,
No.
or you wouldn't see hundreds and thousands of people at these auditions. Right.
Yep, right.
So, you're trying and you're going to get the one that you want. And, I'm just glad that she's not, speaking of the fear, like not fearful of going on auditions because I'm probably not going to get it.
Right. Right. Well,
Yeah.
and I think we've talked about this before. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to some actor who said, I was done. I was completely done. I know Jenna Fisher absolutely was done. I know John Krasinski, they were done. They were like done with acting.
And then look where they went.
And then they
landed.
ended up getting
Yeah.
called to this thing, and the next thing you know, their lives are changed
Yeah.
forever. So, anywho, folks, I hope that that's helpful for you. If you're dealing with some kind of anxiety or fear, or just struggling with your next step, and something's preventing you from moving forward, I'm just going to encourage you to do what I'm doing, and that is just refocusing and changing it and saying, you know what, I can deserve this and I can go for it. And I don't know what your thing is, but hopefully this is encouraging to you. So There you go.
Yes. Just do it.
Just do it. That's a great little saying. You know what the best part of just do it is? What word is the most important word of just do it?
Well, what word is?
Yeah,
Do.
of the three.
I don't know. Do.
No, everybody says do, right? Because that's what they say. And I read this. I read this thing, and it said, you know what? The best word of just do it is just.
Oh, okay.
Because the thing is exactly what you were saying earlier. Just go for it.
Yeah,
just go for
that's
it.
true.
So, because doing it is like there's an action, right? But the part that's really interesting about that phrase is just. Because
it makes it more simple. It's not like, it's almost like it's attainable when you just go for it.
Just go for it. It's like,
yeah.
maybe my mind isn't 100% there. Maybe I do have fear that I'm not going to do it. Maybe but just do it. Is like, that's just really cool.
It is very cool because it's not do it. It's like, just do it.
Yeah, just do it. So,
all right.
Yeah.
We'll end on that note.
Thanks for listening, folks. We're at wholehearted_living_podcast on Instagram. So we'd love for you to subscribe and or write comments, etc. Let us know what you'd like to talk about.
Thank you, Iggy, for keeping us in sound.
Thank you, Iggy, for keeping us in sound. We still don't know how to say that appropriately.
I love that.
I know.
You say that all the time, and I love it exactly the way it is.
Okay, well, we'll leave it that way.
All right, you guys, thank you for being here, and we will chat with you next week. Bye.
Ciao.
Oh, my God.
Okay.